The penalties for this are actually £5,000 for each item or 6 months in prison. Furniture and Furnishings Fire Safety Regulations, 1988. So landlords have an obligation to make sure that the furniture that they provide within a property meets current regulations and is fire safe. So the furniture that is covered under the legislation is beds, headboards, mattresses, sofa beds, scatter cushions, seat pads, pillows, loose covers. So basically anything that equates to soft furnishings is covered under this legislation. Furniture not covered under the legislation, sleeping bags, duvets, mattress covers, pillowcases, curtains, carpets, antiques furniture, all furniture made before 1950. How do you document this? How do you evidence that any furniture that's being provided does comply with current standards? The only way that you can do that is by documenting that there are labels present confirming the validity of the furniture. So the best way to do this, I would say to you, is on your inventory. Whoever carries out your inventory, it might be you might outsource it. They will, of course, be listing the items of furniture within the property. Make sure that they are also documenting that there is a label present so that it complies with fire and furniture regulations. Now, I'm not aware of any cases where any issues have occurred due to furniture not being compliant. Way back in my earlier years when I just moved into my first property and I didn't have a lot of money, I was a single mom, all of the furniture was gifted to me. It was very ugly, it was very old, it was horrible. But needs must, I started working and I'd saved up enough money to buy a leather sofa. Guys, I was so excited, honestly. Like, I'd got an ugly brown, you know, those itchy, scratchy, bobbly old people sofas. That's what I had. And it was just horrible. And I'd saved up enough money to buy a leather sofa. And I decided that I was going to buy it off this guy, basically off the back of a lorry, because it was cheaper. So I paid £500 for 2 lovely cream leather sofas. They turned out not to be leather, is the first thing, okay? So very naive. They look nice. But about 3 days after I'd bought the sofas and they were sitting proudly in place in my living room where I lived with my young child at the time, watching Central News one night, a big story came up about a man going round selling furniture at the back of a lorry. Picture comes up of said sofa, absolutely hugely fire risk. Like, the stuffing is just, you know, going to kill you if it sets on fire. There's no fire resistance in them. It's like criminal. He's going to be sent to prison, and I'm now left with these 2 lovely leather sofas that look great. They were absolutely dangerous. So you imagine that happens to a landlord and you've not checked that the furniture is up to current regulations. So you need to document that permanent labels are present. If you're not doing this, I encourage you to start doing so, because if you're not, you actually have no evidence to prove that the furniture was safe. And if that becomes into question, you may have a problem. You can also evidence the validity by purchase by way of receipt, because anything that's sold by a shop after 1993 has to be compliant with the fire and furniture regulations, so you'll be okay. Now, a couple of things I want to tell you: that if there is non-compliant furniture in a property, you cannot gift it and you cannot sell it to the tenants. It has to be removed. If you know it is not safe, it has to come out. Or let me just rephrase that. If you can't prove that it's safe, it has to come out. They cannot be left behind or sold. And as I've said, list on the inventory, because the penalties for this are actually £5,000 for each item or 6 months in prison.